こんにちは。私の名前はHakonです。もっと日本語を学びましょう。Hello, my name is Hakon. Let's learn some more Japanese. So, last time I went through all the katakana and I hope you've practiced them and don't expect to learn them right away. Maybe it's also a good idea perhaps to just do them a little bit at a time, but just keep working at it and it will stick eventually. Um, Now, I did mention last time that it is possible in katakana to do combinations of characters that make sounds that are not part of the Japanese syllabary, the 104 different possible syllables you can make in Japanese. And this is used for transcribing not usually foreign words used in Japanese, but for instance, film titles, book titles, transliterations of foreign words, names as well. You can use this. So let's just get started on the combinations. I've got a list on my left here just to make sure I don't miss any out. So first we have a she, and then we add small size, just like with the kyaku kyo ones, a small e. So she plus e becomes she. Just write that out then. And remember, of course, the she starting from the bottom and quite a low angle line at the bottom. There's a voiced version as well. And that becomes, so G plus E becomes J. Of course, you already have Ja, Ju, and Jo. So Ja, Ji, Ju. You already have Ja, Ji, Ju, Jo already. So it's only J that is missing. Ja, Ji, Ju, Jo. Yeah, you already have Ja, Ji, Ju, Jo in Japanese, but J does not exist. So then we have T plus a small E. When you're doing the small characters, I can't remember what that's called now. Make sure they are significantly smaller so that they cannot be confused with a full-size character. If you're writing Japanese like I do and you're a bit inconsistent with your sizing, make sure they are really, really much smaller, maybe even half height. If you are very consistent in your sizing of your normal characters, you can probably get by with a little bit bigger, but just make absolutely sure it's clear what you are doing. So a T plus E is a T, of course. The T line in Japanese becomes a chi, and the U becomes a tsu, so it doesn't have T and tu. So this is how you make them. Actually, that is not how you make the two. Beg your pardon. So we have to plus small u becomes 2. It sort of makes sense because it's already quite close to a 2 sound. Let's make sure that's quite clear which one is bigger than the other. And then the same with the voiced versions. So you have de plus small e becomes d. And again, you don't have those on the D line because that's a G in the syllabary. And then it's the do plus small u becomes do. Again, you don't have it because it's a zu or a zu in Japanese. On the the Czech sound, of course, we have cha, we have chi, we have chu, we have cho. We do not have che. So if you want to write che, you write a chi plus small e, and that becomes che. And then on the F line, or the H line rather, we only have one F, so we have hu. But if you want to write any other syllable starting with F, like fa, fi, fe, fo, you can do that with a hu plus a becomes fa, hu plus e becomes fi, fu we already have, plus e becomes fe, and plus o becomes fo. So fa, fa, fi, fe, fo, in addition to fu, which already exists in Japanese. Now we have wa, of course, in Japanese, but what if you want to write wi, we, or wo? Not woo, of course. At least it's not on my list for some reason. So I think woo just becomes woo, probably. But I'll look that up actually to be sure. But on my list now, there is no woo. So it sort of makes sense to start not with the wa character, but with the u character. So u plus e, ui, we. So that's the closest in sound actually to a we. So that becomes we. U plus e becomes we, and plus o becomes wo. And remember, there is no wo in katakana, even though the character that belongs in the place of wo, which is the o character, is no longer pronounced wo. It used to be pronounced wo, but now it is o, the object particle, which we will get back to when we're doing more grammar one of these days. Now, if you want to create not just a we sound, but a v sound, you would think that the starting point should be an F and then you voice it. But in Japanese, in katakana, you voice the U actually to make that sound. So they have the U character and you add the dakuten to show that it's voiced. And then you can add the smaller character. So this is va, v, and on its own actually is vu. You don't use a small u in addition to it. It's just vu on its own. Now these are characters you don't use very often, so it's probably a good idea to look them up when you need them. Yes, v, and finally vo. What else do we have? Yeah, there is Q plus a small a makes qua, and a Q plus a small o makes qua. And on my list, qui, ku, que is not listed. I'm not sure if they are omitted for some good reason, but they're not on my list. We have tsu, of course, in Japanese, but if we wanted to write tsa, tsi, tse, tso, that is possible as well. So you're starting with the tsu character and you add a, so that is tsa, tsi, tse, and so. Are we still within shot over that? Yes, we are. And that is it, actually. So these are additional characters that are generally only used for writing proper names, whether it is people, places, although very often, of course, when you're talking about places, in certainly countries that are used as very common loanwords in Japanese, they would not use these normally. There are a few exceptions, actually, and one of them is Norway for some reason, because Norway is Norway, so it's using we. So no, ru, we. And one more thing that actually I was meaning to say, when you double a vowel in katakana, you just write a line like so, which is a lot easier than in hiragana. Norway, that's Norway in katakana. Most country names, however, they actually fit they technically could have been written in hiragana. They don't have any of these extra characters usually. Maybe they didn't hear about Norway until so recently that they just used some of the extra ones for that. Now, I did say last time I was going to say something about transliterating names into Japanese using these characters, but I think I'll leave that for next time because this is already getting quite a long episode. I don't want to make my episodes too long. I want to make them quite short, and so it's nice to have them as a separate subject. I think for its own episode, I think is a good idea, and I'll give some examples of how to use these extra syllables as well as using the normal system as well for transliterating foreign words into Japanese. And also give some examples of loanwords that I used in Japanese and quite common usage as well. So I think that should be it for today. So thank you very much for watching. Domo arigato, and I'll see you next time. Sayonara. Bye bye.